People think looking rich is about logos, labels, and loud designer outfits. It's not. Real wealth is quiet. Real wealth is in the habits you carry, the way you move, the way you speak, and the way you show up. And today, you're going to learn the habits that make you look expensive even when you're not wearing a single designer piece. The way you carry yourself is more powerful than anything you wear, because your presence is the first thing people register before they ever notice your clothes. When you walk into a room with controlled energy, steady breathing, and an unhurried pace, people instinctively read you as someone who is grounded, stable, and secure. Wealthy-looking people don't try to rush their way through spaces or force themselves into attention. They move with a calm rhythm that suggests their time is valuable, and they're not in a hurry to prove anything. You can recreate that same effect by becoming intentional about your posture, your eye contact, the steadiness of your voice, and the clarity in your gestures. When you practice holding yourself with that quiet steadiness, it naturally signals composure, and composure always reads as expensive. Presence is a form of nonverbal communication, and most people underestimate how loudly it speaks. The person who stands with squared shoulders, relaxed arms, and a balanced expression communicates more confidence than someone wearing thousands of dollars worth of designer pieces but shrinking into themselves with uncertainty. That is why posture is the first part of creating an expensive look without spending anything. Straightening your spine, elongating your neck, and allowing your movements to be fluid instead of frantic creates a silhouette that captures attention in a subtle, influential way. It makes you look taller, more elegant, and more self-assured, which are all qualities that people subconsciously associate with success. Your facial expressions also shape how others perceive you long before your outfit does. When someone's face is tight, tense, or overly expressive with insecurity, it gives off a sense of inner chaos. But when your expression remains relaxed, neutral, and open, it looks like you're someone who handles your life with clarity and discipline. Expensive-looking people have mastered this balance of being approachable without appearing desperate for approval. They use soft nods, brief smiles, and calm reactions that show they aren't easily shaken. You can emulate this by practicing emotional neutrality, especially in public spaces or social environments where small stresses might normally trigger an overreaction. Maintaining a collected face doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means not letting every minor frustration show on your features. It's a form of emotional discipline that instantly elevates the way others see you. People read your face as a reflection of your lifestyle. If you look overwhelmed, they assume your life is overwhelming. If you look centered, they assume your life is under control. That assumption alone creates the appearance of someone who lives well. Another part of carrying yourself in an expensive way is being intentional with your movements. Wealthy-looking people don't fidget, over-explain, or perform nervous habits that reveal insecurity. Instead, their gestures are slow, purposeful, and deliberate, sending the message that they're comfortable in their skin. Something as simple as placing your hands down calmly instead of slamming them, pausing before you speak instead of rushing your words, or turning your head slowly rather than snapping around makes a dramatic difference in how composed you appear. These tiny adjustments create an aura of self-command. When you stop moving in frantic, reactive patterns, people naturally treat you with more respect because you appear to respect yourself. That's what makes someone look expensive. Not the fabric on their body, but the discipline in their presence. Your voice is another underrated part of your presence. A calm voice makes anything you say sound more thoughtful. When someone speaks slowly and clearly, without filling every silence with nervous laughter or unnecessary explanations, it gives the impression of intelligence and confidence. People with a wealthy aura don't rush through conversations as if they're afraid of being cut off. They take their time, articulate their words, and speak with a stable tone that communicates self-assurance. You can develop this by practicing speaking at a steady pace, lowering the tension in your throat, and not letting anxiety push your words out faster than your thoughts. When your tone is stable and your words are intentional, people listen differently. They lean in. They pay attention. They sense a quiet authority that no brand name can buy. Eye contact is another key element. Expensive-looking people maintain eye contact in a way that is steady but never aggressive. They don't dart their eyes around the room looking for validation or checking who's watching. They look at the person in front of them with intention, signaling presence and confidence. Strong, calm eye contact makes people feel like you're secure in yourself, and that perception alone elevates your image. Developing this habit doesn't require forcing an intense stare. It's about not shying away from connection. When you're grounded in yourself, eye contact feels natural. It flows, it creates trust, and it signals that you're unshaken and in control. Another aspect of carrying yourself in an expensive way is the energy you project through silence. People who seem wealthy don't fill every moment with unnecessary talk because they're comfortable with their own presence. Silence doesn't scare them, it strengthens them. They don't feel the need to overshare, over-explain, or justify their actions. They speak when they have something meaningful to say, and that alone makes their words feel more valuable. Practicing this type of quiet confidence teaches you how to use silence as a strength, not a weakness. When you stop talking to fill voids or gain approval, you naturally start to look more self-reliant and composed, which enhances your entire presence. Your personal boundaries also shape how you carry yourself. People who seem expensive don't tolerate disrespect, don't engage in messy behaviors, and don't expend their energy trying to please everyone. They move with clarity because they know what they stand for. When you begin to set boundaries and enforce them calmly, it affects the way you walk, the way you stand, and the way you interact with others. Your entire demeanor becomes firmer, more intentional, and more self-respecting. That self-respect is what truly makes you look elevated. When you stop chasing validation and start honoring your standards, people can feel it without you saying a word. Even the way you handle your belongings contributes to your presence. You'll notice that expensive-looking people don't throw their things around, slam their bags down, or treat their possessions carelessly. They handle everything with intention, whether it's a phone, a wallet, or a coffee cup. This habit shows discipline, organization, and appreciation, all of which make you appear high value. When you move with care, you project the image of someone accustomed to quality, regardless of how much the item actually costs. Carrying yourself with an expensive presence also means removing chaotic behaviors that make you look disorganized, rushing, stumbling, tripping over your words, constantly adjusting your clothes, fidgeting, or checking your phone too often all signal a lack of inner stability. When you replace those habits with steady breathing, smooth gestures, and a calm presence, you instantly elevate the way you appear. People don't associate chaos with wealth. They associate calm with control and control with success. Another powerful element is emotional restraint, not emotional suppression, but emotional management. When you are not easily triggered, easily offended, or easily thrown off, people see you as someone who has mastered themselves. Emotional discipline is one of the most expensive-looking qualities a person can have. It shows maturity, intelligence, and personal stability. When you maintain this composure in your interactions, you appear more powerful and more secure, which naturally makes you look elevated. Even the way you interact with space contributes to your presence. Expensive-looking people don't shrink themselves or take up space apologetically. They stand firmly, walk confidently, and exist without apologizing for being seen. They don't rush to move out of someone's way unless necessary. They don't cower or fold into themselves. They carry themselves like someone who belongs wherever they are. Practicing this doesn't mean being rude or arrogant. It means aligning your body posture with your self-worth. When you stop acting like you're in the way, people stop treating you like you are. Your presence is shaped by your internal dialogue as well. When you speak to yourself with respect, discipline, and self-assurance, your outer behavior reflects it. The way you think changes the way you move. The way you move changes the way people perceive you. And that perception is what creates the expensive, elevated aura that has nothing to do with designer clothes. When you build habits rooted in calm confidence, emotional control, and deliberate movement, you naturally start to look like someone who carries value, authority, and self-respect, and people respond to you with a level of respect that matches that energy. Minimalism and intentionality create a naturally expensive look because the human eye is drawn to clarity, order, and purpose. When your appearance, your movements, and your choices feel deliberate rather than chaotic, people instinctively read you as someone who operates with a higher level of discipline. Minimalism is not about having less for the sake of less. It's about removing the unnecessary so the necessary can stand out. It's about choosing pieces, behaviors, and habits that express control rather than clutter. This alone creates the illusion of wealth without spending anything. When someone looks at you and sees simplicity, cleanliness, and purpose, they interpret it as refinement. Wealthy-looking people don't need loud patterns or busy designs to prove anything. Their confidence comes from the fact that their presence speaks louder than their outfit. You can recreate that effect by focusing on simplicity in the way you present yourself. Clean lines, neutral tones, and well-maintained basics tell a stronger story than any outfit stuffed with extras. When your look is intentional, it sends the message that you're selective, and selectiveness always reads as expensive. Minimalism also extends to grooming. People underestimate how powerful neatness is because they chase trends and ignore the fundamentals. The truth is that nothing looks more expensive than being clean, polished, and put together. When your hair is neat, your nails are clean, your skin looks cared for, and your overall appearance is maintained, people automatically assume you invest in yourself. And this assumption has nothing to do with fancy treatments. It's about consistency, not cost. Wealthy-looking people have routines. They look like they take the time to take care of themselves, and that discipline translates into an elevated aesthetic. You can embody this same presence by showing up consistently groomed, even in the most basic outfit. Cleanliness and maintenance create the impression of someone who values quality, and quality is always associated with wealth. Intentionality also shows in how you choose your accessories. Instead of wearing multiple distracting items that clash for attention, expensive-looking people choose one or two pieces that complement their look. They go for simplicity because simplicity highlights confidence. When you choose accessories with intention, even something inexpensive can look elevated. A clean watch, a simple necklace, or a minimal ring placed thoughtfully gives the impression of someone who understands style rather than someone chasing trends. The more intentional your choices, the more polished you appear. The more polished you appear, the more expensive you look. People often assume wealth comes from what you buy, but in reality, wealth is often perceived through what you avoid. When you remove clutter, you reveal confidence. Another important aspect of minimalism is how you curate your wardrobe. An expensive look doesn't come from having many clothes, it comes from having the right clothes. Instead of owning dozens of pieces that don't coordinate, wealthy-looking individuals typically invest in a few versatile staples. You don't need high-end brands to achieve this. You just need items that fit well and complement your build. Tailoring is often the key, and even affordable pieces can look elevated when they fit properly. When your clothes sit right on your body, people assume quality. Minimalism isn't about buying new things, it's about wearing what aligns with your presence. It's about owning items that flatter you instead of items that impress others. This mindset alone makes your entire appearance feel more selective, curated, and expensive. Intentionality also shows in the way you communicate. People who look wealthy don't speak with unnecessary filler words or frantic explanations. They're concise. They choose their words with precision. They don't talk to dominate attention. They speak because they have something to say. This calm consistency makes their presence feel more valuable. When you bring intention into your communication style, whether through slower pacing, clearer articulation, or more thoughtful word choice, you instantly sound more grounded. And grounded people naturally look more expensive because their confidence is internal, not performative. When your tone is steady and your message is clear, people interpret you as someone who operates on a higher level of discipline. Minimalism reaches into your lifestyle habits as well. A chaotic schedule, constant distractions, and lack of boundaries all show up physically in your appearance and energy. People may not know the details of your life, but they feel the disorganization in your presence. On the other hand, someone who prioritizes their time, their space, and their energy carries themselves with structure. This structure creates an outward impression of someone who's in control. The more intentional your routines and daily habits are, the more others perceive you as someone who lives well. Wealth isn't only about money, it's about order, clarity, and stability. When you incorporate minimalism into how you manage your day, decluttering your routines, simplifying your processes, and focusing on essentials, you naturally radiate a sense of power and composure that feels expensive. Intentionality also affects how you interact with your environment. Wealthy-looking people don't rush through their days bumping into things, dropping items, or fumbling around. They move through the world with ease because they're attentive, their actions are measured, their decisions are deliberate, and their mannerisms are thoughtful. This type of movement looks elegant even if the person is wearing something simple. When you practice being present, placing things down gently, moving with awareness, and treating your environment with respect, you automatically give off an elevated impression. People associate intention with intelligence and control, and both of those traits enhance your appearance without costing anything. Your digital presence is another place where minimalism matters. People who look expensive don't post every detail of their life online. They don't overshare, overwhelm, or broadcast every emotion. They choose what to show, and they show it with purpose. This creates an aura of mystery and exclusivity that naturally feels high value. When you're selective with what you reveal, people respect you more. They assume you have more going on behind the scenes. Minimalism in your online life doesn't mean shutting down your personality. It means choosing what aligns with your identity rather than reacting to trends or validation. The less noise you create, the more authority you carry. Even your emotional reactions play a role in creating an expensive presence. When you react impulsively or emotionally to every situation, you appear out of control. But when your responses are measured and intentional, you look grounded. Wealthy-looking people don't rush into conflict or let their emotions lead their decisions. They pause, they assess, they react strategically. When you practice emotional minimalism, responding only when necessary, choosing calm over chaos, and regulating your energy, you automatically elevate your presence. People equate emotional control with strength, and strength is a trait associated with success. Minimalism also reflects in your social energy. You don't need to be everywhere, talk to everyone, or force yourself into every social circle to appear elevated. In fact, the people who seem the most expensive are often the ones who are selective about where they go and who they give their time to. Their boundaries create a sense of value around their presence. When you stop trying to be accessible to everyone, you create an aura of exclusivity that feels luxurious. Being intentional about your connections doesn't make you distant, it makes you discerning, and discernment always reads as expensive. Your environment also plays a major role. A clean, organized, minimal living space creates a sharp contrast with the cluttered environments that most people live in. You don't need designer furniture or high-end decor to achieve this. You only need order. When your space is clean, your mind feels clearer. When your mind feels clearer, your decisions become more intentional. And when your decisions are intentional, your presence becomes stronger. People notice when you live with structure. Even simple routines like keeping your desk clean, your room tidy, or your belongings organized make you appear more disciplined. Discipline is a luxury that many people never learn to cultivate, and that's exactly why it makes you look elevated. Minimalism is also seen in the way you spend your energy. People who look wealthy don't drain themselves trying to fix everyone's problems. They don't waste their time in drama, gossip, or meaningless noise. They invest their energy into what matters. They choose their battles, their conversations, and their priorities with intention. When you begin to spend your energy wisely, protecting your peace, valuing your time, and prioritizing your growth, you naturally adopt a presence that feels rare. And rarity always reads as expensive. In every part of your life, minimalism and intentionality create a sense of quiet luxury. When you stop doing things out of impulse, insecurity, or habit, and start doing them with purpose, everything about you upgrades. Your appearance upgrades, your energy upgrades, your presence upgrades. People start to see you as someone of value, someone with standards, someone with clarity. These qualities don't require money, they require discipline. And once you cultivate them, you carry an elevated aura that makes you look rich even without a single designer item on your body. Quiet confidence is the true luxury that turns heads because it communicates a depth of self-assurance that no outfit, accessory, or external symbol can match. When someone carries a calm certainty about who they are, it radiates through every part of their presence. It shows in their posture, in their voice, in the way they enter a room, and in the way they interact with others. Quiet confidence doesn't need to announce itself because it's not fueled by the need for validation. It operates from a place of internal stability, and that stability is what makes people stop and notice. When you embody quiet confidence, you don't rely on loud branding or flashy displays to prove your worth. Your energy does the work for you. That energy creates a gravitational pull, something subtle yet powerful, something that makes others pay attention without you trying. Quiet confidence begins with the relationship you have with yourself. When you know who you are and what you stand for, you stop seeking constant reassurance from the world. You no longer try to impress people with material things or dramatic behavior. Instead, you give off the impression of someone who is content within themselves, and that contentment reads as strength. People can tell when someone is grounded, when they're not easily swayed by opinions or pressured by trends. This inner steadiness makes you look elevated because it shows that you've mastered the art of self-trust. When you trust yourself, you don't need to force anything. You don't need to overshare. You don't need to overreact. You don't need to overcompensate. You simply exist with a quiet power that speaks louder than noise ever could. This kind of confidence is rare in a world where most people are performing. Many individuals rely on exaggerated behavior to gain attention. They talk too much, show too much, reveal too much, and try too hard. But quiet confidence doesn't chase attention, it attracts it naturally. It creates curiosity. It makes people wonder what you know that they don't. It makes them want to understand the source of your calm. That curiosity alone gives you an upper hand socially, professionally, and personally. When people sense your calm strength, they instinctively treat you with more respect. They listen more carefully. They approach you differently because they can feel that your presence comes from a deeper place. Quiet confidence is also reflected in how you handle challenges. Instead of reacting impulsively or emotionally, you respond with thoughtfulness. You remain composed even when situations become tense. This ability to stay calm under pressure makes you appear more capable, more mature, and more in control. People who can regulate themselves in difficult moments always appear more powerful. They don't crumble under stress or let their emotions control their decisions. They know how to pause, assess, and act with intention. This level of emotional discipline is rare, and rarity always looks expensive. When you stay grounded during moments that would shake most people, it sends a message that you're made of something stronger. That message elevates your entire presence. Quiet confidence also shapes the way you communicate. You don't speak loudly to be heard. You speak clearly to be understood. You don't interrupt to dominate conversations. You listen, observe, and choose your words with purpose. This makes everything you say feel more thoughtful and more meaningful. When you choose your words intentionally, people pay closer attention. They feel the weight behind your statements. They sense the stability in your tone. This communication style creates a sense of authority without aggression. You don't have to prove anything because you already know your value. That is the essence of quiet confidence. It's not loud, it's not boastful, it's calm, controlled, and self-assured. Another trait of quiet confidence is the ability to be comfortable alone. When you truly feel secure in yourself, you don't need to surround yourself with people to feel validated. You don't need constant social stimulation to feel important. You can sit with your own thoughts without discomfort. This comfort with solitude is powerful because it shows that your identity doesn't depend on external noise. People who can enjoy their own company project independence, and independence is one of the most attractive, elevated qualities a person can have. When you walk through life without clinging to others for assurance, you automatically look more refined. You move with a sense of self-reliance that others admire. Quiet confidence is also seen in how you carry your body. You don't shrink into yourself or try to disappear. You also don't puff yourself up or try to dominate the room. Instead, you stand tall, move with purpose, and occupy space with balance. Your gestures are controlled, your movements are smooth, and your posture communicates respect for yourself. You don't fidget, rush, or display nervous behaviors that reveal insecurity. You move like someone who has nothing to prove. This physical calmness gives off an expensive aura because it shows discipline. Discipline in your body reflects discipline in your mind, and that connection makes your presence feel stronger than any outfit ever could. Quiet confidence also affects the way you make decisions. You don't make choices out of fear or pressure. You take time to think, to evaluate, and to choose what aligns with who you are. This deliberateness makes you look intentional, and intentionality always appears elevated. People who act with purpose give off an air of stability. They don't seem lost or confused. They don't appear scattered or overwhelmed. They make decisions with clarity, and that clarity reads as strength. When you practice decisive thinking, you exude the energy of someone who leads their life rather than simply reacting to it. Quiet confidence shows up in your boundaries as well. You don't need to raise your voice to say no. You don't need to defend every choice you make. You don't need to explain your standards to people who don't respect them. Your boundaries are expressed through your actions. When someone crosses a line, you enforce it calmly and consistently. That calm enforcement shows that you expect respect, and people respond accordingly. Boundaries maintained without aggression look powerful because they come from a place of self-worth. When your self-worth is stable, you don't beg anyone to stay, and you don't chase anyone who walks away. You understand that your value doesn't decrease based on another person's behavior. That understanding is what creates the aura of quiet strength that seems expensive and unshakable. Quiet confidence is also reflected in your facial expressions. People with this kind of confidence don't wear their anxieties on their face. They don't show panic, desperation, or insecurity in their eyes. Their expressions remain relaxed even when things don't go as planned. This relaxed expression creates an elevated look because it signals emotional control. When your face stays calm, people assume your life is calm. When your energy stays steady, people assume your world is steady. This perception alone transforms how others respond to you. They approach you with more respect, more caution, and more curiosity because they can sense that you're not easily moved. Quiet confidence isn't about being silent, it's about being selective. It's not about being emotionless, it's about being emotionally mature. It's not about withdrawing from people, it's about carrying a deeper connection with yourself. When you operate from this place of grounded self-awareness, everything about you looks elevated, your energy becomes cleaner, your movements become smoother, your choices become wiser, your presence becomes stronger. People start to feel your confidence before you even speak. That kind of presence is rare, and that rarity is what makes you look rich without needing designer clothing or flashy displays. Quiet confidence makes you look expensive because it signals that you have mastered the one thing most people never learn to control: yourself. Your emotions, your reactions, your boundaries, your tone, your energy, your choices. When those things are anchored from within, you become someone others naturally respect. You don't need attention to feel valuable. You don't need approval to feel secure. You don't need labels to feel important. You move through the world with a steady, self-assured rhythm that tells people you know who you are, and that knowledge is the most luxurious quality you can ever possess.